What she doesn't say is what you need to know. She sits across from you, quiet. Her arms are folded, her eyes are fixed on something invisible beyond the room. You ask, softly, is something wrong? She looks at you, half smiles, and says, I'm fine, but she's not. And you know it. The silence between you grows louder than any argument. It's that moment when you want to fix everything but can't that leaves most men feeling helpless. Trying to understand a woman can sometimes feel like assembling an IKEA cabinet without instructions. You've got all the pieces, you think you're following the logic, but somehow, something always ends up backwards or missing. And then you start wondering if the cabinet was ever meant to stand in the first place. The truth is, most men are taught to respond, to react, to solve. We hear a problem, and we reach for a solution. But when it comes to women, especially women in emotional conflict, that instinct can backfire, because here's the twist. She doesn't want a solution. She wants to feel that you understand her without her needing to explain. She wants to feel seen even when she says nothing at all. That's the paradox. Women communicate through emotion, not logic. Through signals, not speeches. And often, their deepest needs are never expressed directly. Not because they're hiding them, but because they want you to sense them, like a man who truly pays attention, not just listens with his ears. This isn't about learning tricks or manipulation. It's about presence. It's about awareness. And most importantly, it's about emotional stillness, the very quality that Stoicism teaches. In this video, we'll uncover 10 hidden female weaknesses that most men never notice. These aren't flaws. They're emotional blind spots that shape how she thinks, reacts, and connects. If you've ever felt confused, pushed away, or trapped in miscommunication, this will bring clarity. But more than that, it will help you become a different kind of man. The kind who listens without needing words. The kind who leads without raising his voice. And the kind she quietly trusts more than anyone else. Let's begin. Women fear rejection more than they admit. Imagine a student who just received a failing grade. She quietly slips the test paper into her bag, avoiding eye contact, hoping no one asks. That's how many women hide their emotional vulnerabilities. Not because they're dishonest, but because revealing them feels like handing you a weapon that could hurt them. A woman might laugh with you, flirt with you, open up just enough to spark your interest, and then suddenly she pulls back. She becomes cold. She cancels plans. She texts less, and you're left wondering, what did I do wrong? This is where most men misinterpret her behavior. They assume she lost interest, got bored, or moved on, but often, what really happened is this: she got scared. Scared that she liked you too much, and scared that if she took one more step forward, you might not be there to catch her. So instead, she steps away first. It's a form of emotional self-defense. She would rather reject herself than risk being rejected by you. It's safer to pull away than to wait for disappointment. The fear of not being chosen, of being compared and discarded, runs deeper than most men realize. Here's the twist. When a woman seems to push you away without reason, she's not testing you. She's protecting herself. And if you react with frustration, pressure, or neediness, you confirm the fear she already had. This is where Stoicism becomes your greatest ally. A Stoic man does not chase emotion with more emotion. He does not demand clarity from confusion. He observes. He remains still. And in that stillness, he gives her the space to feel safe again. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is to not take her withdrawal personally. To stay grounded. To say with your energy, I'm still here. When she sees that rejection won't shake you, she begins to trust that maybe, just maybe, you won't be the one who disappears. Women crave attention more than they admit. Picture this: your phone shows full bars, but the Wi-Fi is barely working. You refresh, nothing. You move around the room, searching for a stronger signal. That's how many women feel in relationships. They're not disconnected, they're just not feeling the signal. And when the signal drops, they start searching elsewhere, not out of disloyalty, but out of emotional necessity. A woman doesn't always say she wants attention. She shows it. She might change her hairstyle, wear something new, or post something slightly out of character. She's scanning to see if you notice, if you care, if you're still tuned in. When those signals go unanswered, she doesn't always complain. She just quietly shifts her energy. Most men believe that giving attention means constant compliments, text replies, or showering her with praise. But attention isn't always loud. In fact, the most powerful form of attention is silent. Here's the twist. Sometimes, it's your pause before speaking. Your steady eye contact when she's talking. You're noticing the small things she didn't think you'd catch. These moments mean more than 100 good morning texts or overused flattery. And ironically, over-complimenting her can come off as mechanical, insincere, or worse, needy. A woman doesn't just want to be seen, she wants to feel felt. That requires presence, not performance. This is where the Stoic mindset becomes essential. Stoicism isn't about being cold or detached. It's about being deeply grounded in the moment. Instead of reacting with autopilot responses, the Stoic man listens with full attention, speaks with intention, and allows silence to carry weight. When you are fully present, not distracted, not rushing, not seeking to impress, she feels that. You become her strongest signal. And she stops searching for a better connection, because she's already found the one that never drops. Women want to feel safe, even when they're in control. Think of her as the driver of a fast-moving car. She's in the front seat, hands on the wheel, foot on the gas. She chooses the direction, the speed, the destination. But deep down, she still wants to know the brakes are working. That if something goes wrong, you'll be the one to slow things down before it's too late. This is what emotional safety means for many women. Even the most independent ones still crave a steady, unshakable presence beside them. Not someone who controls them, not someone who dominates them, but someone who makes them feel safe enough to let go. That's why many women test limits, not to play games, but to gather evidence. Can you stay calm when she's stormy? Can you set boundaries without being cold? Can you say no without guilt? She might push emotionally, create drama, ask difficult questions, or provoke subtle tension. Not because she wants conflict, but because she needs to know if you'll lose yourself when she loses balance. Here's the twist. Most men think that making a woman feel safe means saying yes, avoiding arguments, or always agreeing. But that's not safety. That's softness. And over time, softness without spine makes her feel more anxious, not less. True emotional safety comes from strength, not surrender, from calm direction, not passive approval. This is where Stoicism reveals its quiet power. A Stoic man does not flinch when tested. He doesn't suppress his truth to keep the peace. He simply remains centered. His calm is not performative, it's earned. It comes from mastering himself, not others. And when a woman senses that you cannot be shaken by her moods, her fears, or her fire, she begins to relax. She lets go of the wheel more often, not because she has to, but because she finally feels that someone can stop the car when she no longer wants to drive. Women rely on compliments more than they realize. Compliments are like sugar, sweet, satisfying, and comforting in the moment. But just like sugar, too much of it can become addictive. And worse, it can leave a woman feeling empty, craving the next hit, never truly full. For many women, compliments are more than casual remarks. They're a form of validation, a way to feel seen, to feel valuable, to feel like they still matter in a world constantly reminding them that they must look a certain way, act a certain way, be everything at once. So when a woman asks, "How do I look?" or "Do you still find me attractive?" she's not just fishing for ego boosts. She's asking for reassurance. She's asking, without saying it, "Do you still choose me?" But here's the twist. The more often she needs compliments, the less she believes them. When they come too easily, too often, or without substance, they start to sound hollow. And what once made her feel secure now feeds her insecurity. Because if you're always saying nice things, how can she trust that you mean any of them? That's the paradox, that what she wants is affirmation, but what she needs is authenticity. Real praise given when it's felt, not when it's expected. This is where most men go wrong. They think being a good partner means constantly affirming her. But overdoing it turns affection into a performance. It's no longer an act of love. It becomes emotional convenience. A Stoic man does things differently. He speaks truthfully, not reactively. He compliments when it's real, not when it's required. He understands that his words carry more weight when they are rare, specific, and grounded. He doesn't flatter to gain approval. He observes. He respects. And when he does speak praise, and it lands like truth, not sugar. And that is what a woman remembers. Not the volume of compliments, but the moments when your words reflected what you truly saw and meant. Women carry the past, even when they say they've moved on. Imagine walking through an airport, dragging a heavy suitcase. You look calm, you smile, you hold casual conversation, but that bag behind you, it's full, packed with old memories, pain, and fears that refuse to stay buried. This is how many women move through relationships. They carry emotional luggage long after the trip has ended. She might say she's over her ex, that it's all in the past. But then, one small moment triggers something deep, a delayed text, a distant tone in your voice, a comment that reminds her of an old wound. And suddenly, her response feels bigger than the situation. You wonder, why did that upset her so much? What you're seeing isn't about you. It's the echo of something older, something unresolved, a betrayal that taught her to be suspicious, a silence that made her feel abandoned, a lie that turned into a pattern. And now, even your honesty must pass through her filter of past pain. Here's the twist. When she reacts with intensity, your instinct may be to fix it, to defend yourself, and to explain. But often, the most healing thing you can do is the opposite. Don't solve, don't analyze, just stay present, stay calm, let her feel without judgment. Because the real healing comes not from what you say, but from how you are while she feels what she's feeling. Your steadiness becomes her anchor. This is the strength of Stoicism. Not in emotional distance, but in emotional grounding. You don't get pulled into her storm, and you remain still. You don't make her pain about you. You witness it without fear. And in that stillness, she senses something powerful. You're not another man who adds weight to her baggage. You're the space where she can finally begin to set it down. Women get jealous, not to control you, but to feel close to you. Think of jealousy as a fire alarm going off in a quiet room. It's loud, it's uncomfortable, It demands attention. But the alarm itself isn't the problem. It's just a signal that something inside feels unsafe. For many women, jealousy isn't about control, and it's about fear specifically. The fear of losing your attention, your presence, or your emotional loyalty. She may ask who that woman was in your photo. She may seem irritated when you mention a coworker. She might suddenly grow cold after a conversation that felt completely normal to you. What she's really saying underneath the surface is this: I'm scared that you might start drifting away. Jealousy is often her emotional defense. It's her way of saying, I care, and I'm afraid I don't matter as much to you anymore. But instead of saying that directly, she sets off the alarm, hoping you'll notice, hoping you'll reassure her without her having to beg for it. Here's the twist. Most men respond in one of two ways. They either get defensive and argue, or they over-explain and try to fix. Both are reactions, and both signal emotional instability. The Stoic man does something different. He stays calm. He doesn't match her energy. He doesn't accuse or withdraw. He simply reassures through presence, not over-talking, not proving, just being steady. This is the Stoic advantage. While others spiral into confusion or frustration, you remain unmoved, not out of indifference, but because you understand what's really happening. Her jealousy is not an attack, it's a whisper. Tell me I'm safe with you. When you don't flinch, don't defend, and don't retreat, something unexpected happens. The alarm quiets. The room warms up again. And she begins to trust that maybe, just maybe, you're not going anywhere. Women are easily drawn to flattery, but crave something deeper. Flattery is like honey, sweet, sticky, and alluring. It draws attention quickly, like flies to a jar. But here's the truth: it doesn't nourish, it doesn't last, and it rarely builds anything meaningful. That's why women may be drawn to flattering words, but they don't stay for them. In a world where compliments are everywhere on social media, in messages from strangers, what feels rare is authenticity. Many women hear how beautiful they are, how amazing they seem, how special they must be. It's a constant chorus, and yet many of them still feel unseen. Why? Because flattery only touches the surface. It's charm without depth, attraction without connection. And deep down, most women know when it's being used as a tactic instead of truth. Here's the twist. The men who truly captivate women long after the first impression often don't say much at all. They don't need to. Their presence speaks louder than compliments. Their confidence doesn't chase approval. Their attention isn't scattered. It's focused, calm, intentional. A woman might smile at the man who flatters her, but she remembers the man who made her feel understood without saying a word. That kind of energy doesn't come from clever lines. It comes from internal stillness. That's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoic man doesn't aim to impress. He moves with quiet certainty. He shows interest through action, not performance. He observes instead of interrupting. He values connection over validation. And because he doesn't rely on praise to gain favor, his rare compliments carry weight. When he says something kind, it means something. Not because it's loud, but because it's real. In the end, flattery is easy. Substance is rare. And women, despite what they react to in the moment, always return to what makes them feel anchored, not just admired. Women get swept up in emotion, even when they don't want to. Imagine a small boat drifting in open water. No sail, no anchor, just waves pulling it in every direction. That's how emotion feels for many women, especially in moments of stress, confusion, or vulnerability. They don't always steer the storm. Often, they're just trying not to sink in it. One moment, she's laughing. The next, she's distant or irritable. You ask what's wrong, and she says she doesn't know, and maybe she truly doesn't. Emotion comes in like weather, fast, unannounced, and hard to explain. Most men feel thrown off by this. They start to doubt the relationship. They wonder if they caused something. They try to fix, soothe, or rationalize. But emotions don't respond to logic. Not at first, especially not when they're crashing like waves. Here's the twist. What a woman often needs in those moments isn't your solution. It's your stability. Not a man who gets tossed by her tide, but a man who becomes her harbor. The more grounded you are, the more she can find her balance. When she feels chaos within and sees calm in you, something shifts. She stops fighting the waves because she's found an anchor. This is where stoicism becomes love's strongest form. It teaches you to remain unmoved, not from apathy, but from strength. You don't suppress her feelings. You simply don't let them drown you. You breathe, you listen, you stay. And in that steadiness, she begins to trust, not just you, but herself, through you. She realizes she can feel everything she feels without scaring you away. That's what makes you different. Not that you change her mood, but that you don't need to. You just remain solid, present, calm. The safest place in a storm she didn't ask for, but knows she can't always escape. Women are always searching for deeper meaning, even when everything feels fine. It's like searching for something you can't name. You walk through a quiet house, room to room, looking for what exactly you're not sure, but you feel it. That itch beneath the surface, that tug that says, this isn't it. That's how many women experience relationships. Everything looks fine on paper, but something still feels missing. You might be doing everything right. You're present, supportive, kind. The relationship seems stable. There's laughter, affection, routine. And yet, one day she says, I don't know what's wrong, but I feel distant. Or worse, I just need time to figure things out. This leaves many men confused, hurt, frustrated. You gave your best, and still it wasn't enough. But here's the deeper truth. For many women, love is not just a feeling, it's a search, a journey to discover meaning, alignment, and emotional resonance that they can't always define. Here's the twist. She's not asking you to be the answer. She's asking if she can see herself more clearly when she's with you. You're not the destination, you're the mirror. And what matters is not what you give her, but how your presence helps her reflect on who she truly is. The Stoic man understands this. He doesn't panic when she feels uncertain. He doesn't rush to fill her emptiness. He doesn't try to force meaning into the relationship. He lets meaning unfold naturally. Stoicism teaches that we don't own people, we experience them. And when a woman is in search of something deeper, the last thing she needs is someone who tries to define her path for her. She needs someone who simply walks beside her, without needing to know where it ends. When you become that mirror, clear, grounded, open, she finds more than comfort. She finds clarity. And in that clarity, she often realizes the thing she was searching for was already in the space you created together. Her weakness is an invitation, not a threat. At first glance, a woman's emotional patterns can feel unpredictable, even overwhelming. She fears rejection but hides it behind silence. She craves attention but doesn't ask directly. She lashes out in jealousy but won't say she's afraid. And sometimes, she pulls away not because she doesn't want you, but because she wants to know if you'll follow with steadiness. not desperation. Most men take these reactions as threats, as red flags, as reasons to retreat or argue. But what if they were something else? What if they were doorways? Here's the shift: her weakness is not meant to push you away. It's an invitation, a quiet, emotional test asking, can you meet me here? Can you hold your ground while I lose mine? Can you see my fears without turning them into problems? The Stoic man sees through the reaction and into the need beneath it. He understands that behind emotional chaos is a woman trying to feel safe, trying to feel understood, trying to feel finally held without judgment. And instead of resisting or fixing, he remains. Still, present, unshaken. Because true strength is not in overpowering her storm. It's in not letting the storm change who you are. Her weakness is not your enemy. It's your opportunity, not to control her, but to show her what it looks like when a man can lead from inner peace, not outer pressure. And when you accept the invitation not with fear, but with calm clarity, she stops resisting. She begins to trust, because you didn't see her weakness as a flaw. You saw it for what it really was, the raw edge of her vulnerability reaching out, hoping someone strong enough would choose to stay. Small action, big awareness. Now that you've seen what most men never do, the question becomes simple. What will you do differently? You don't need to memorize every reaction or decode every emotion. You just need to stay aware. Because awareness, not perfection, is what separates the man she forgets from the man she can't stop thinking about. Start small. The next time she pulls away, don't chase, stay present. When she tests you, don't argue, stay grounded. And when she spirals into emotion, don't explain, just listen. Let your calm be louder than her chaos. Let your presence speak louder than any apology. And remember, you're not here to fix her. You're here to understand yourself so deeply that nothing she does can shake what's steady in you. That's where the shift begins, not in changing her, but in transforming how you hold space for both her strength and her softness. So here's your question. What's one weakness you used to see as a red flag but now realize might have been a silent invitation for connection? Let us know in the comments. Your insight could be the mirror another man needs.